Hey crew, Mark Hatmaker here. We're going to continue on exploring our world of old school illegal boxing, frontier rough and tumble. Like kind of like a revision of that old title I did back whenever I was a wee lad of 14 years old. Illegal boxing, but we're all the unearthed discoveries, if you will. We're going to talk about, so far we've been talking about catching and cuffing, which is primarily talking about how to be more offensive with your defensive work. We've not actually thrown in some real nitty-gritty about some blows yet, so let's go ahead and do one. Yeah, there's definitely some striking with the bare fist. We're going to get to that. The old schoolers were scrupulous about doing some hand saving, hence there's more body work than people realize. Most of the time when people think of old school boxers, they're seeing this sort of setup, and they're thinking of this just a lot of swinging and clubbing blows, a lot of unschooled, uneducated thought. But au contraire, these old timers are way smarter than that, and they were doing lots of things to save their hands. So we will be talking about striking surfaces. These guys were scrupulous about striking surfaces. We're not doing that today. We're going to get down the road. And also, big deal, might surprisingly enough, on grip equalization. There's a good school of thought about having grip inequalities in your fist or even your weapon work is what leads to a lot of problems with both grip strength, busted out fingers, and blown out elbows. And again, we're going to cover that another day. Whenever we got our bona fides down that we're actually throwing some hands, we'll get to that grip inequalities and striking surface. I think you're going to really dig that because the nitty-gritty wisdom behind it. But today we're talking about a blow called the chopper. The chopper strikes with the bottom of the fist. So you were thinking, well, this is just a hammer fist, right? Or it could be done as a vertical, or as a vertical as a horizontal striking hammer blow. But it differs in many degrees from being a hammer fist, and the name itself, chopper, is actually because it has some historical lineage to it. There was an old school bare-knuckler named Jack Slack, who's fighting, we're going to put it approximately 1740-ish, we're going to say 1743, 1750, somewhere in that time range. I mean, the exact fighting dates are, I'm losing right now. Doesn't matter to get to what we're doing here. Jack Slack, whose ring name was the Norfolk Butcher. You know, wonder how he got that nickname? Well, he's from Norfolk, and yeah, he was a butcher. His blow, called the chopper, you might lead you to just think it was just some name they're coming up with because of butcher with his meat cleaver doing some chopping, whatever. It's called the chopper actually because of how it's delivered has a great deal of chopping force to it. And so we're going to explore that and how it worked out. And we'll do it on some contact here in just a moment. Kelly, can I have you go ahead and slip out here and just throw on those old school pads right there, and you can just kind of linger and lurk in the background if you don't mind. First, Jack Slack fought with a curious guard, and this is not something I'm encouraging you to do. We're going to get to how we can make it more applicable to our street work, our self-defense work in here in just a moment, but we're going to be historically accurate for a moment. He fought, instead of our standard box position, which we have discussed, he had a curious crossed arm position. It's kind of like a really high, unwise Philly shell, where the Philly shell is smart. This was like double folded, and the head is buried down. He's still looking at you, but the head is down, so he's presenting as a target the top of the head, which we know for a lot of these hand-saving guys, they're not even going to bother with that. He's using this as also protecting the head. So he's primarily worried about these body shots coming in, being kind of a short, stubbyish sort of fighter. Worked out kind of well for him for a bit because he wasn't the biggest on finesse or anything like that, but still yet the chopper did its business and worked well for him. Now this, I'm not advocating, oh, here comes the street confrontation, boom, going to this really high peekaboo position, but just trying to accurately portray where and how this blow is coming from, and it starts giving you a foreshadowing of where the power is going to come from. Now, we know street-wise or flinch-wise, we know flinch can come in all sorts of forms. It can be this, it can be that. And some people, at certain time, well, you can flinch over in this position. So as far as educating a flinch response, well, that's just silly. It depends on where the direction of an attack or onslaught comes. If a seagull flew in here right now, I don't know what's going on. Depending on the angle, things can happen, right? And your body will flinch in its own way. So trying to prepare a flinch response, that's just silly. It's not going to happen. What we want to do, though, is however your hands or however your flinch response occurs, you want to have that as a sort of a mnemonic that you're able to all of a sudden be able to capitalize on however your body did flinch, because the body is going to flinch. I mean, like the Stoic philosophers of Montaigne would even discuss how all the preparation of the world doesn't stop the combatant from hearing and having a good start at the sound of an explosion or a cannon or whatever. The body's going to do what it does. It's just what you do with that reaction afterwards that tells the tale, right? So there is something to be said. If we flinch and our hands come up in a position that is similar to Slack's doubled up and head down guard, then we could fire from there, right? Right. But let's talk about how the blow is thrown and then show you where we don't need the flinch response for this to come out. And I think it's kind of a clever application that you can pull off from a Frontier Rough and Tumble and build off some of the material we've already discussed about, particularly in the cuffing material. And you can go back and look at that. I think those two are consumed as a nice adjunct right there. First off, it's not a hammer fist in the sense we know usually a hammer fist is fired with a little bit of a tricep drive, if most, maybe some additional work from the delts or the rhomboids. So we're talking about, we've got more of a quick flicking blow. Nothing wrong with that, but we know there's a more probish and might lean a little bit more into the sportive side of things because you're just looking to accrue things and you're assuming you're going to be out there for a long time. Choppers are meant to do a great deal of damage. So, for example, can I have a double up and hold those up about face level and watch yourself? So if we're talking about, if I'm just doing from here without wind up, so I'm facing you or you're holding the pads for me before we're being struck right here. If I wanted to do a horizontal hammer fist without coming offline, I can go from here, just do this flick in motion. Even if I come from here, a version of Slack's guard and open it up from here, for both versions, I'm either gonna have this position right here, that's just a standard kind of rotating around on the ball socket joint. From Slack's guard, I have it right here, fine. So it's not a chopper yet, because what Slack is doing is whenever he throws it, there's a bit of a lunge with the side that you're throwing with. In this case, since I'm a southpaw, my right foot comes forward and I unwind with the entire upper body. So it's not me stepping out here, it's not me stepping into it, it's just stepping forward and giving a little bit of a wind up with that body that's coming in. So it's being fired from the hips, the step or stomp through with the lead foot, and the entire body weight moving forward. Let's do that again, please. So just hammer fisting it here, okay? A little bit of movement right here, chopping. We've got a little bit more of a solid shot is coming in, right? Now, again, we're not talking about is every blow a knockout blow. No, also keep in mind where this is being thrown. It's not a choosy blow. Side of the head, the neck, there's a whole lot of neck shots in old school rough and tumble, old school pugilism. So that's what you're looking for. Don't think I'm going to go for the jaw, I'm going to go for the temple. Just look for, just hit head and neck region and go from there. The other thing you might want to think about, though, you're probably already recognizing, you would be worried about over rotation, right? Because after all, if you're stepping forward and doing this big blow, look, this hand's way over here. We've opened up this line. That's where Slack is actually doing. So a single shot like that is not the chopper, not yet. That's one half. Slack through them as a double, meaning, so super slow facing you, step forward, lunges, this comes out, and as this arm's coming back, this one is throwing at the same time. So you've got this double swinging motion here where he's emphasizing that counter, so instead of it being just over rotation to here, it's actually counter rotation, bringing this back into play, which in his case can bring him back into this guard position, or you actually see it has the arm swinging motion, almost like the Jenga portion from old Capoeira, using some good, eating up your inertial, your centrifugal force by bringing yourself back into play. It can bring yourself back into straight arm shots from there. Even though it's got counter revolution to it, that second shot is where your over rotation would be, meaning, so from here, I'm eating up energy this way by counter revolutioning right back into here. So to throw that blow, let's put it back up again. It's just not the ball and socket from here. It's the big heavy shot as you're moving in. Now it's best if I'm not going to get on the bag with it for you, but you can wind it and bash through, with your doubling up on the chopper. Where I think it's all does us a really good service, because it doesn't have to come out of that flinch, which I already alluded to, is where you start combining it into position. So if we think about, go ahead and lose that, put on that single glove, please. Where on the cuffing discussion, we talked about cuffing and using that wrist turnover, bringing everything back in. And from there, we either turn that into an inside corkscrew, just to bother, or we're stepping in at the same time, throwing that mauling elbow, which is like the chopper. It's not choosy. You're not looking for a shot. You're just stepping in, either looking to take a chunk out of something or spiking with it. But I think you're already with me. If we're doing the cuff and I maul with this one off that same shot, I'm already in the wind-up position. So you're at the version of Slack's wind-up. So from here, we do that big open up. And then off that big open, so with the visual representation, just stick that jab out for me. I'm sorry, go ahead and fling it once. Now I've got this hand down, which we know is not the way to do it. Just trying to emphasize from here. Take a look at the cuffing where we're not doing over-rotating, so that jab here, and I'm already in. That elbow right there, the mauler is already on top, biting that, in this case, it would have bit onto the deltoid. Doesn't matter if she's taller, it's gonna bite on the humerus. I'm not looking for a target. I'm just looking to move and spike as I come in. And as soon as that hits, what's gonna happen from here? Where's my body? I'm already winding up for the backside of that chopper. So we see that again, so super slow. Here to here, open up. And once I've opened, go ahead and get out of here, champ. Once I've done that open up, so I've done cuffed, put the mauler in, open up to here, this one's already right behind it. Now, is this gonna be an elbow? Is this gonna be a straight? It doesn't matter. In Comanche, there's this phrase, just whoopie-ito, where you are just, it's just hit, 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 whoopie-ito, whoopie-ito, whoopie-ito. You're trying to find every piece of your body mechanics, from counter revolutions, whatever, that turns into the next shot. So it's not just picking and choosing combinations. It's each aspect of your motion blending onto the next thing. Now, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about, since we are talking about street combatives with it, you can also load this. We've been loading our catches, and we've been loading our cuffing. Well, you can clearly have that chopper preloaded. And again, we're gonna go right back to that same load we've been using before, because like a tactical flashlight or a ballpoint pen, whatever you got in mind. In this case, we got that EDC 320 tactical torch from TRS. That's going to stand instead for it. We already know when we pick it up, we want it, again, no battery in it right now, so we don't blind out on the camera lens, is that most of the time we're not holding it this way. See the first we talked about, you want to hold it in tactical position because we're moving around, whether it's your firearm or ready to be using this for some of the prior tactics we talked about. But anytime you're turning this on, that would be the green button, I'm always doing that little punch through, which brings this extended just outside that fist. We've already seen how we use that in a loaded catch. We've seen how we use it in a loaded cuff, but now you're already ahead of me, right? Which means whenever we come back with that chopper, the exact same thing. We've got a loaded chopper, we're throwing full bore. This isn't a fist load, not yet. We're throwing full bore and adding some spiking aspect on top of it. So I think the main thing to pull from this is not to stay in one static position and think about throwing from his guard, because we're not talking sportive aspects here. We're talking historical and recreation, historical aspects. We're talking street. We're talking rough and tumble. And we're also talking about that whoopie-ito concept of every way we can to eat the energy of the last shot and have something new on top of it. Hit and hit repeatedly is the way to go. All right, so play with that. Be kind to your partner. Take it to a bag. Again, don't put the tactical torch or your load in the bag, because you just bite holes in that thing all day. So take care of your gear.
Thanks for watching our video lessons here at TRS Direct. Hit the like button down below and consider subscribing to our channel here on YouTube. Hit the bell icon and we'll send you a notification when there's a new lesson available. Thanks again for watching.